If you thought Kobe Bryant's legacy was settled, think again. It's been years since that tragic January morning, but somehow, the story refuses to rest. This time, the spark came from an unexpected place: LeBron James' Instagram Live. It wasn't just a casual scroll-through moment. It was a broadcast with undertones. A message. And the person everyone believes it was aimed at? Vanessa Bryant. LeBron wasn't calling names, but the timing, the tone, the words, fans connected the dots instantly. If you're still watching, you know this story's just getting started. Drop your thoughts below and hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. He spoke about protecting the culture, about keeping the legacy strong, about doing right by the name that built this city. And whether he meant to or not, it sounded like a public commentary on how Kobe's legacy is being handled. A legacy that, for better or worse, Vanessa has been left holding. Here's the thing nobody tells you about being the widow of a global icon: you inherit a responsibility you never signed up for. You become the unofficial CEO of a brand you didn't build, but everyone expects you to run flawlessly. For Vanessa, that's meant managing public grief, lawsuits, business decisions, family drama, and now, a brand new layer of speculation after rumors of a new pregnancy. To the outside world, this should be her private joy or private struggle, whichever it is. But to the millions who feel personally invested in Kobe's story, it's something else entirely. The online comments exploded. What does this mean for Kobe's legacy? Is she moving on? Would Kobe want this? The questions aren't really questions. They're judgments dressed up as curiosity. And that's where LeBron's IG Live hit differently. He's not just another NBA player weighing in. He's the face of the Lakers right now. He's the guy who stepped into the purple and gold era after Kobe, the guy who's spoken about carrying on the Lakers dynasty. For him, Kobe's legacy isn't just history, it's a torch he believes he's still carrying. So when he talks about protecting the name, people listen. People speculate. People screenshot, replay, and dissect every sentence. But here's the uncomfortable truth: whose legacy is it really? In the years since Kobe's passing, it's become clear that there are multiple factions trying to define what Kobe's legacy actually means. There's Vanessa, who lived his personal life alongside him. There's the Lakers organization, for whom Kobe is a forever franchise pillar. There's LeBron, who sees himself as both successor and guardian of the Lakers story. And then there's the fans, who often feel like they have the most emotional claim of all. The problem? All these visions of Kobe's legacy don't always match. Vanessa has been criticized for her social media posts. Too much, too little, too personal, too businesslike. She's been attacked for shutting down some of Kobe's business ventures, even if the reasons were private. Every choice she makes gets run through the filter of, what would Kobe have wanted? And yet, no one can truly answer that. The pregnancy rumor just poured gasoline on the fire. The speculation became about her moving on, as if widowhood comes with a permanent life sentence of stillness. People who've never met her suddenly felt entitled to weigh in on what the appropriate timeline for her happiness should be. And because she's Vanessa Bryant, widow of one of the most beloved athletes in history, it all plays out under a magnifying glass. That's the part of celebrity culture that's the most suffocating. Grief isn't private when millions think they own a piece of your story. And when LeBron's IG Live dropped, whether intentionally or not, it became another layer of pressure. His words about responsibility and keeping the name alive were instantly spliced into TikToks, podcasts, YouTube commentary videos, fuel for the ongoing debate over whether Vanessa is doing enough, doing it right, or doing it the Kobe way. And here's the twisted irony. The very people who demand she honor Kobe in a certain way are often the same people who criticize her for not living her life on her own terms. She posts too little, she's hiding something. She posts too much, she's exploiting the legacy. She keeps her circle tight, she's shutting people out. She partners with certain brands, she's selling out. It's a no-win game. The emotional toll of that kind of public ownership is impossible to measure. We see it happen again and again with widows of public figures. They aren't allowed to be simply themselves anymore. They are the keeper of the flame, the gatekeeper of the narrative, the walking reminder of the tragedy. And every personal choice gets recast as a public statement. That's why the IG Live moment with LeBron wasn't just another piece of NBA gossip. It was a cultural flashpoint. The idea that someone as high-profile as LeBron would, even indirectly, comment on Vanessa's stewardship of Kobe's legacy reinforced what many already believe. She's not just a grieving wife. She's a figure whose decisions affect the ownership of a cultural icon. But maybe that's the problem. Maybe the real issue isn't whether Vanessa is doing enough to protect Kobe's legacy. It's that we've turned legacy into something that can be owned at all. Kobe's impact didn't belong to any one person. It was shaped by his family, his teammates, his fans, his rivals, the city of Los Angeles, the sport itself. His story is collective. And collective stories don't have a single keeper, they have many. Vanessa's role in that collective should be hers to define. Not LeBron's, not the Lakers, not the fans. Yet the cultural expectation is that she will remain in this permanent state of public guardianship, never deviating, never changing, never putting her own life in front of the version of Kobe's story the public prefers. That expectation is suffocating, and it's amplified every time someone with LeBron's influence throws a spotlight on her. The truth is, Vanessa's life since Kobe's passing has been one long tightrope walk. She's fought legal battles that no one should have to fight. She's dealt with family disputes behind the scenes while the media circles like sharks. She's navigated business decisions with millions at stake, all while raising her daughters in the glare of the public eye. And now, even the most personal aspects of her life, her body, her relationships, her possible pregnancy, are treated like public property. LeBron's IG Live may have been meant as a rallying cry for the Lakers faithful. It may have been a genuine expression of care for the legacy of his friend and fellow legend. But the public doesn't parse intent, they react to the soundbite. And in this case, the soundbite played into an existing narrative that Vanessa owes the public an image, a plan, a perfect continuation of Kobe's story. Maybe that's why this moment resonated so deeply. It wasn't really about pregnancy rumors or even about Vanessa versus LeBron. It was about how we, as a culture, deal with grief and celebrity. We like our widows saintly, quiet, and endlessly devoted to a frozen moment in time. We like our legacies controlled, curated, and consistent. But real life doesn't work like that. People heal. People change. And sometimes, honoring someone's memory doesn't look like what the outside world expects. The question of who owns Kobe's legacy will probably never have a single answer. For LeBron, as a Laker, that legacy is tied to the team's identity. For the fans, it's part of their emotional history. For Vanessa, it's intertwined with her personal life, her children, and her own healing. All of those perspectives are valid, but none of them give the right to dictate the others. So maybe the next time a rumor surfaces or a celebrity makes a cryptic comment, we resist the urge to turn it into a public trial. Maybe we let Vanessa breathe without projecting our own ideas of what Kobe's memory should look like through her. Maybe we recognize that keeping a legacy alive isn't just about public gestures, it's about private moments, the kind we'll never see. LeBron's IG Live will pass. The pregnancy rumors will fade. But the cultural pressure on Vanessa isn't going anywhere unless the public decides to shift the conversation, from ownership to empathy, from expectation to understanding. Kobe's story doesn't need a single keeper. It needs room to exist in the hearts of everyone he touched, without crushing the person who happened to be closest to him when he left this world. And maybe that's the real legacy, to love someone enough to let them live. The IG Live was short, but the ripple effect was massive. You could almost feel it in the room. Well, the digital room. Comments flying up the side of the screen, emojis flooding in, usernames spamming facts, and, say it louder, like they were cheering from the bleachers. And LeBron, sitting there in that casual confidence only he has, speaking in that way where you can't quite tell if he's talking about basketball, life, or something much deeper. Protect the legacy, he said. Keep the name alive. Do it the right way. Simple phrases, but heavy ones. And that's the thing about LeBron. He knows the weight of his words. This wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was deliberate. Even if he didn't intend to spark headlines, he knew they were coming. The moment he ended the stream, the interpretation machine kicked into overdrive. Clips were pulled, slowed down, subtitled, reposted on fan pages. You had one corner of the internet reading it as a call to action for Lakers Nation: protect the purple and gold dynasty, honor Kobe through wins, keep his spirit in the locker room. But then you had another corner reading it as something much more personal. They heard a message for Vanessa. And that's where it got messy. Because to believe it was for her means you're already buying into the idea that Kobe's legacy is something she might be mishandling. And once you go there, you're stepping into a minefield of judgment, assumption, and, frankly, entitlement. The entitlement is what strikes you the most. The way people speak as if Kobe's personal life, his marriage, his children, his wife's choices, are all public property. They build this mental image of Vanessa as the eternal torchbearer, the flawless keeper of the flame. But here's the reality: she didn't choose that role. She didn't apply for it. It was handed to her under the worst possible circumstances, and from that day forward, the world decided what her job description was supposed to be. The pregnancy rumor was the latest trigger. Some people responded with genuine joy at the thought of her finding happiness again. Others treated it like a betrayal, as if her moving forward with her life somehow erased what Kobe meant to her or to the fans. And that's the dangerous part of how we treat widows of public figures. We freeze them in time. We make them monuments when they're still human. It's almost like people want her to live in a museum dedicated to Kobe. Every decision she makes is judged on whether it aligns with the brand people have in their heads. But real life isn't a brand. Real life is messy, emotional, complicated. And real grief doesn't follow the timelines that strangers on the internet decide are acceptable. Lebron's words hit that sore spot. Whether intentional or not, they fed into the conversation about whether Vanessa is doing enough to keep Kobe's legacy alive. And that's the problem. Enough for who? Enough for the Lakers? Enough for the fans? Enough for LeBron? Kobe's legacy isn't one single thing. It's not just basketball dominance. It's not just championships. It's not just philanthropy or fatherhood or business success. It's all of those things woven together, shared among the people who knew him, worked with him, and were inspired by him. That's what makes this tension so complicated. Everyone thinks they have the purest version of what Kobe would have wanted, but those versions don't always match. For LeBron, Kobe's legacy is tied to the Lakers dynasty, the standard of greatness that stretches from Magic to Kareem to Kobe, and now to him. For fans, it's tied to the emotional high points of their own lives, the championship wins, the game winners, the grit and determination. For Vanessa, it's tied to her family, the father of her children, the man she knew away from the cameras. These perspectives aren't just different, they're sometimes at odds. And when they clash, the public tends to side with the version they feel most connected to. That's why the IG Live felt like a line in the sand to some people. They saw it as LeBron siding with the public version of Kobe's legacy over the personal one Vanessa is living. Whether that's true or not, perception is everything, and perception spreads fast. The fallout from moments like this is never just a day or two of headlines. It lingers. It becomes part of the larger story. Now, anytime Vanessa makes a public move related to Kobe's name, there's an added layer of analysis. Is she responding to LeBron? Is she proving something? Is she stepping back? That's how these things work. They create a permanent subtext. And honestly, it's exhausting to watch. Imagine being under that kind of microscope every single day. You post a picture of your kids? Someone says you should have posted a picture of Kobe instead. You wear a certain outfit? Someone says it's too happy for a widow. You don't post for a while? Someone says you're neglecting the legacy. It's an impossible set of expectations. What gets lost in all of this is the fact that grief is deeply personal, and legacies are multifaceted. Kobe's story belongs to more than one person or group, and it evolves over time. The version of Kobe the world celebrates in 2025 might be different from the version remembered in 2035. That's not disrespect, that's how cultural memory works. But right now, in this moment, Vanessa is at the center of that evolution. And the truth is, she's under no obligation to curate it for anyone else. She can choose to be public, private, active, or withdrawn. She can choose to take on projects that keep Kobe's name in the headlines or choose to focus on raising her daughters away from the glare. Either choice is valid. The tension comes from the fact that public figures like Lebron have their own stake in the narrative. He's part of the Lakers' story, part of Kobe's professional legacy. When he speaks, it resonates in that space. And even if his IG Live wasn't aimed directly at Vanessa, it played into the broader conversation about who gets to steer Kobe's story now. It's easy to forget that behind all the public talk, there are private realities. There are probably conversations between Vanessa and the Lakers organization we'll never hear about. There may be times she and LeBron have spoken directly about Kobe. There are likely decisions made quietly, without press releases, that shape how Kobe's name is used in the world. But the public doesn't see that. They only see the moments that make it online. And maybe that's why it's so important to remember that legacies aren't static. They don't live in one person's hands forever. They shift and adapt and sometimes even fracture. And that's okay. The point of a legacy isn't to freeze it in amber, it's to let it inspire in all its forms. Vanessa's version of Kobe's legacy may be more private, more protective. LeBron's version may be more public, tied to team pride and competition. The fans' version may be more nostalgic, replaying highlight reels and quoting Mamba mentality mantras. None of those versions cancel out the others. But when we act like there can only be one true legacy, we create conflict where there doesn't have to be any. The pregnancy rumors will fade. The IG Live clip will eventually stop trending. But the pressure on Vanessa, and on anyone in her position, will never fully go away unless the culture changes. Unless we stop treating widows like they're public property. Unless we accept that moving forward doesn't mean moving away from someone's memory. Unless we understand that legacy is a shared thing, not a single crown to be guarded. Because maybe the real way to honor Kobe isn't to argue over who gets to protect his name. Maybe it's to live the values he stood for: resilience, passion, growth, and allow the people closest to him to live theirs without a jury of millions weighing every move. Picture this. You're sitting there, scrolling through Instagram, half distracted, and suddenly you see it: LeBron James is live. The viewer count's climbing like it's Game 7. You tap in. He's not smiling, not cracking jokes, not hyping up a product. His voice has that deliberate rhythm, the one athletes get when they're choosing every word like it might be etched into stone. You can feel he's building toward something. And then it comes, those few sentences that ignite the entire conversation. Protect the legacy. Keep the name alive. Do it the right way. That's it. That's the clip. That's all it takes for the internet to fracture into 100 debates. Was it for the Lakers' locker room? Was it for the fans? Or was it, intentionally or not, directed at Vanessa Bryant? The power of LeBron's platform isn't just in his reach. It's in the fact that he knows exactly how much his voice weighs. A random fan can say something like that and it evaporates in the noise. But when LeBron says it, it turns into headlines, reaction videos, think pieces, Twitter threads. Suddenly, the comment section under every Vanessa Bryant post is a battlefield. Some defend her fiercely: she's been through enough, leave her alone. Others question her choices: is she really honoring Kobe? And layered under all of it is the fresh wave of gossip about her rumored pregnancy, which has now been folded into the legacy debate as if it's part of some public referendum. It's a strange, almost surreal thing to witness. A deeply personal milestone, if it's even true, becoming fodder for strangers to argue about like it's a trade deal affecting the whole city. And yet, that's the reality of widowhood in the public eye. Every move becomes symbolic. Every decision becomes a statement, whether you want it to or not. What's wild is how quickly the narrative shifts depending on who's talking. In the world of sports media, LeBron's comments can be framed as a motivational speech. We've got to keep Kobe's spirit alive on the court. But in celebrity culture, those same words get reinterpreted as a critique. He's calling out Vanessa. In fan communities, it morphs again. He's speaking for us. But here's the catch. Kobe's legacy isn't one monolithic thing. It's a constellation. There's the professional legacy, the championships, the MVPs, the work ethic. There's the personal legacy, the father, the husband, the mentor. There's the philanthropic legacy, the Mamba and Mambacita Foundation, the youth programs. Each of those legacies touches different people in different ways, and no single person can own them all. Still, there's this unspoken belief that Vanessa is the central gatekeeper. Maybe because she was closest to him. Maybe because she's raising his children. Maybe because, in the absence of Kobe himself, she's the last link to the private version of him the world never saw. But here's the paradox. The public has assigned her that role, then criticizes her whenever she doesn't play it the way they expect. It's an impossible job description. You're expected to be both the grieving widow and the CEO of the brand. You have to protect the family's privacy but also feed the public's hunger for connection. You have to make decisions that honor your husband's vision, even though only you, and maybe a few others, truly know what that vision was. And every choice is judged through a lens of, would Kobe have approved? By people who never met him. The pregnancy rumor has only amplified that tension. In the public's mind, it's tied to questions about loyalty, about moving on, about whether a new chapter in her personal life means closing a chapter in Kobe's story. And the harsh truth is, those questions are deeply unfair, but also inevitable in a culture that treats celebrity relationships as shared property. That's why LeBron's IG Live hit so hard. It wasn't just about the words, it was about the timing, the subtext, and the audience. He had to know it would be connected to the swirling speculation. And even if his intention was pure, rallying the Lakers, honoring Kobe, it's hard to separate the public interpretation from the personal impact. The most striking thing here is how these moments reveal the fractures in what we think of as a shared legacy. For LeBron, keeping Kobe's name alive might mean wearing the Mamba jersey during big games, dedicating wins to him, mentoring younger players in his philosophy. For Vanessa, it might mean protecting her daughter's memories, ensuring that every use of Kobe's name is something he would have been proud of, even if it means fewer public appearances or projects. For fans, it might mean annual memorials, street murals, and constant media presence. The tension is inevitable because those visions don't always align. And when they don't, someone's always going to be accused of failing the legacy. That's what we're watching play out now, an unspoken tug-of-war over narrative control, where even silence can be interpreted as a statement. The more you think about it, the clearer it becomes that this isn't just about Kobe or Vanessa or LeBron. It's about the way we consume celebrity grief as if it's a reality show we're all invested in. We want to see the widow do it right, but we define right in ways that fit our own emotional needs, not hers. We want the legacy to stay exactly as we remember it, but we forget that people's lives move forward whether we're ready for them to or not. Because at the end of the day, Kobe's real legacy might not be the championships or the Mamba mentality quotes. It might be the idea that you live your life fully, on your own terms. And if that's the case, then maybe the best way to honor him is to let Vanessa do exactly that.